This program is supported by MyLabs, patient-ordered testing. San Juan Regional Medical Center is expanding its services to offer low-cost blood screenings year-round. Now offering walk-in convenience to get the blood tests you want when you want them. MyLabs, patient-ordered testing, is available at the hospital's laboratory and the Outpatient Diagnostic Center on 30th Street in Farmington. With nearly 20 tests available, there's an option for everyone. MyLabs, patient-ordered testing, a wellness service of San Juan Regional Medical Center. .836 KSJE. You're listening to the Scott Michlin Morning Program. Good morning to our listeners and our viewers who are watching us live this morning on Facebook and YouTube. You're taking a look at some time-lapse video of the sunrise this morning over San Juan College from overnight to just a few moments ago. As a matter of fact, it's 39 degrees outside our studios right now here at San Juan College. Winds are out of the east at 6 miles per hour, and the weather forecast calls for a chance of rain showers today. The high 59, 40 overnight with a chance of rain or snow, 53 for a high tomorrow with a chance of rain, another chance of showers on Thursday. Mostly sunny skies return by Friday, we hope, with high near 60, and overnight lows, as you can see, right around 40 degrees. I'm Scott Michlin. My guest on the radio this morning from the Aztec School District, Superintendent Kirk Carpenter, is here once again. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here. And Deputy Superintendent Tania Prokop is here as well. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Appreciate you both coming in to update all of us on the goings-on at Aztec Schools. And one of the things we want to talk about in this segment are some the quarterly review process that you have in the district. And talk to me a little bit about what that's all about.
Well, we've done what we used to call site visits. I think when I first became superintendent, we still had the quarterly review process, and it actually started under Dr. Linda Paul. And really, it was under her one question, how's business? Two questions, how's business? How do you know? And then that resulted in, I know when I was a principal, Ms. Prokop was a principal, about 3 hours of a meeting with Dr. Linda Paul, the curriculum director, and at that time it was the director of personnel. But that's essentially what it is. We've changed it a little bit, and we've gone through different reiterations of the process over my tenure as a superintendent. But really, what it comes down to is checking in with the principal on student achievement and other processes they have in place at the school to see what's happening. We've done different things over the years, everything from taking a team in to interviewing teachers, doing observations, and it's been received differently. Some years we've gone in and it's been received very well, but then other years I think it's put some strain on teachers when we go in and do that, just because they feel like they have to do different things. We pull them out of classes, and so we've done it in different ways over the years. The most important thing is we want to stay very connected with our schools, which we do. I mean, being a smaller district with 6 schools, we're able to do that. But what we want to do most importantly is we don't want to cause more for teachers and staff. Now, with principals, they do a lot of the data collecting already. In fact, they've done a lot of their interim testing, which is the assessments they do about 7 and 9 weeks to test the students on where they are with certain standards and how they've achieved up to this point. So a lot of that information is already collected, plus a lot of the other things that the schools are doing. So we want to just check in and say, how are you doing? And what are things we can do to support you? And that's, I think, one of the biggest things that we're trying to do, and not make it, again, something that's labor intensive, but more of something we can do to hold them accountable, but also hold us accountable at the central office level.
And I suppose it's part of the world that we live in, right, to try to track some of these things and you do this quarterly, so you're talking 4 times a year. I figured that out on my own.
Good math.
How about that? But to not wait until the end of the school year, or when it's maybe too late to do some type of redirecting or corrective action or what have you, if folks are a bit off track.
So one of the things that's happening is we've got a lot of different initiatives happening in our schools. We've talked about that in the past through the public education department. We've got teachers pursuing excellence. We've got principals pursuing excellence. We're working with some different consultants through those programs that are coming in and working with our site leadership. And so just to build on what you were discussing is, it's nice to have the principal come to us with his or her administrative team and kind of show us and talk to us about how it's all fitting together at their site. I think that's one of the big things that we'll be listening for. They start actually today. So how are you making all these different programs work along with our existing processes? How are you kind of fleshing it all out, right? One of the consultants was telling us that our schools are at their tipping point. We know that in the past we've discussed our school grades. We've discussed park assessments. So if our schools are really at that tipping point, it's going to be really interesting for us to listen as these quarterly reviews happen to what can we do to help the sites get to that next level, go up to that next step on a staircase.
Right. And what does that mean exactly? I mean, are you talking about test scores, school grades, all the above?
Yes, it's about student learning.
Right.
So all the things that you just mentioned are different ways that we take a look at how is the student learning progressing, how is that learning environment progressing. So if we're listening to all of the data that the principals are going to give us about their interim assessment, that is aligned with the park assessment. So that starts giving us a gauge of where students are and how they're on track. They'll also probably bring in some information of some different surveys that they're possibly pushing out so that we can get a gauge of how is the climate at your site, how is the staff climate at your site, how is the student climate at your site. We have a list, Associate Superintendent Englehart put together a list of questions to kind of guide our leaders, and so that'll kind of guide us on what we want to hear. But each of us bring kind of some different experiences to the table. It'll be Kirk, Judy, and myself that'll be in those meetings, along with Exceptional Programs Director Jonathan Acree, who was here last month. So we'll all kind of be listening for whatever our niches are, but I'm really excited to see how our principals kind of put it all together. They're all great leaders, but they all have a different style. So you give them all a kind of the guidelines, but the presentation definitely differs. And so each conversation will be really specific to their leadership and their site.
And I imagine it's a time for the principals to kind of, not to show off a little bit, but to show off a little bit about what their schools are accomplishing, what their students are doing, what's happening in the classrooms towards these shared objectives that come down from the administration, from the district, and things like that to reach these goals?
Absolutely. Anytime you have like a show and tell, it's that time to kind of brag on what's really working. Our hope is that they feel comfortable enough with us that they can also share frustrations and ask for help when something isn't working. And so that's on us to make sure that we do create that kind of an environment.
Sure. And so for parents or grandparents or others who have students in the Aztec schools, this is something that they should know, that to make sure that their students' schools and teachers and classroom instruction is kind of on target during the course of the school year, so that their children are learning what they're supposed to be learning and achieving and at the right pace for where they are during the school year. Is that kind of what this is for as well? Absolutely.
And it's again thanking our community for giving us letting us have that Monday early release, because that is, and we know that that's a burden on families. But this is all on what is going on in our schools. The teachers working in professional learning communities, collaborating, looking at data, creating teacher action plans after looking at interim data to see what was missed, why was it missed, and then putting together a reteaching lesson or possibly an accelerated lesson because students did so well. And it all works together on what principals will now be reporting out.
Right. Mr. Carpenter?
Well, it's that takes the accountability into a different level, too. We are constantly having principals observe teachers and coach them up. And I think this is an opportunity for us to help coach our administrators up and for them to help coach us up. It's reciprocal. All schools have a 90-day plan. And in those 90 days, they're working on specific things to get to the root cause of how to improve student learning. So this is a check-in. It's like a cruise. It's a port of call. So where are we at this point? And so I think as a district administrative team, our role is to support. Sure, we have to make decisions at certain times, and then we have to say, this is what you need to do. But our goal in this is really to say, where are you? What do you need to do? Here's some guidance if you need it, and really to ask them questions so they come up with their own ideas of what they can do at this point moving forward. And like we said, the teachers pursuing excellence, principals pursuing excellence, all these initiatives we're working on, when these programs are done, some have gone through them, some will be finished this year, some have another year. But that's really the Aztec way of doing work, because it's a right way of doing work. And so that's part of the process as well. And for, I think our community and our parents, they should be very thankful we're doing this. We're holding these schools accountable in ways that are a higher level. I mean, this is something other school districts do as well. I know Farmington right now is doing some site visits, and they're going around to schools. So that's what's nice about this county, is the level of work and that the other school districts, us included, are doing to hold our schools accountable. And we have great school systems up here. I can't say enough about all the school systems and the way we're all working together with very similar work. And so we're excited about this, and because it's nice to check in. And I think what Ms. Prokop hit on something, there are frustrations that our principals may have about things that may not be, they're not quite getting the right kind of things embedded. So that's where hopefully we can come in to find out what resources we can try to provide them, or ideas we can help with. Maybe sometimes it's just us going in and helping them with some walkthroughs. And Ms. Prokop and Ms. Englehart do a tremendous job of getting out to schools. I also try to get out as much as I can. Unfortunately, sometimes I get pulled. But, they've stretched themselves in ways because they have full-time jobs. We don't have just that person that can go around and get to schools like others may have. So it's exciting, and we look forward to having our principals come in and with their administrative team and talk about what's happening and what's going well, and those things that need some tweaking and improvement, because if you're not learning every day, then you're not doing what you need to in education, because that's what we want to do. It's improve student and staff learning every day. That's our main focus, and our quarterly reviews are exactly about that, what's going well, what we need to tweak, and we'll continually work on that to get better every day for our kids.
And at this point of the school year, again, there's still that opportunity, I guess, to redirect, if you will, Absolutely. Or to identify maybe things that are working really, really well, and maybe share that elsewhere in the district, or things that maybe could be working a little bit better, and maybe bring in some more resources for that area of the district.
And that's what it's all about, is taking what's going on right now, the interim assessments for kids. That's exactly what happens, is you redirect what's gone well, what hasn't, what do we need to intervene on, what we need to enrich, and that's exactly what these quarterly reviews are about. What's going on well with systems in the school, and what do we need to redirect. We have one of our consultants that's come in, and we talk about the park assessment, and the park assessment's had its people that love it, people that don't like it. The park assessment has a place in the assessment continuum. It's the most summative assessment. But with the park assessment, and he said this and it makes a lot of sense, is the park assessment really does a lot to say how good are your systems that you have in place. And I think there's a lot to be said about that. It's very true. So when we look at the interim assessments, if they're not aligned to park, you need to fix it. If your common formative assessments aren't aligned to your interim assessments, you need to fix it. So by the time we get to park, if things aren't lined up, it's going to show up one way or another. So this, again, if we think about a cruise, you take a cruise, you stop at ports. It's a journey. And the same thing, an interim assessment is just one stop along the way of the school year to make sure we make adjustments. You don't stop and take a test like the old days and say, well, you got it or you didn't, we're moving forward. This is a stop in checking the school processes. Let's fix some things, let's make some adjustments, let's move forward. It's a pit stop in a race. You got to stop, get more gas, change tires, go forward. If you don't, you're not going to finish the race. But we're not dealing with things like that. We're dealing with kids and kids learning and staff learning. So let's make some adjustments and fix things and move forward. And so it's all part of the process. And the most important thing, it's part of the learning process. It's not about teaching anymore. Teaching, you either teach it, they get it, they don't. It's about learning. And when you're talking about learning environments, that's a whole different conversation than a teaching environment. And this learning is about staff. And we can't improve student achievement if we don't improve staff. So that's what this is really about. And, you know, I guess I've crossed over from the coaching world because I get excited when I talk about learning, but it's still that coaching. I think that's what Ms. Prokop and I are still coaches, because now it's just a different playing field. It's about learning environments, and we get excited about coaching our administrators because that's what it's all about.
Sure, and a very different perspective from maybe when we were all in school.
It is.
When it was more like just the teaching and not maybe more so the learning like it is today.
It's about teaching skill by skill and not just the overall subject. You're getting down to the skill level and identifying what skills kids are missing, or even what skills teachers are missing, so we can coach them up. And so I think that's why I still enjoy everything I do every day, because I don't look at it any differently than when I was hitting ground balls or teaching kids the fundamentals. It's all about fundamentals. It's just a different playing field. And I think I probably can speak for Ms. Prokop when I say this. What we do every day is still coach, and we coach fundamentals. It's just a different playing field.
Very true. Well, with that being said, I'm afraid we are out of time this month, everybody, so thank you for coming in, both of you.
Thanks for having us.
And whatever that cruise is, Mr. Carpenter, I want to take it. So it sounds like a great trip, so sign me up. Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. My guests from Aztec Schools here on KSJE. Back with more in just a moment this morning. The time is 8:52.